So, Kyle, I'm kicking this to you. It looks like, for the most part, both teams are going to be almost fully healthy. We have Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon practicing this week, and they're listed as questionable. But I would assume that unless there is a turn for the worse with Jamar, that both players are going to be able to play.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, a fully healthy Kansas City team, a fully healthy Bengals team, who do you have winning and why?
Kev, honestly, I could toss a coin at this point. I'm just gonna go with the result. I'm gonna go with Kansas City by the slimmest of margins here. I was really thinking about picking the Bengals too, so I don't want to discount that either. When it comes to the Chiefs, it's just Patrick. Now, granted, I know the last time these two teams played, Joe Burrow and the Bengals ended up going to the Super Bowl. But when I look back to the AFC Championship game last year, that first half, the Chiefs were just rolling on all cylinders. I mean, they were just on fire as far as I see it. In the second half, they just fell apart, and Joe Burrow and the Bengals did enough to be able to get by the Chiefs on the road and eventually go to the Super Bowl where they played the Rams. But when it comes to this game, you know, I think this game's going to be an absolute shootout, and that's what I honestly hope that it is. And I'm also banking on the fact that it will be because this has the potential to be one of the games, if not the game of the year, if this plays out where both Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow just light it up, where both guys are putting up somewhere between 300 to 350 yards passing and respectively 2 to 3 touchdowns between the two of them. But when it comes to the Chiefs, man, they've just been a model of consistency this year. I mean, they're sitting at 9-2. They're one of the best teams in the AFC. You can make a case that they're the best team in the NFL right now. They've been consistently at the top of our NFL power rankings for essentially the last 3 weeks, for as long as I can remember. Um, the Bills were at the top, and the Chiefs have really kind of maintained that number one spot for the last couple of weeks. And it's simply because Patrick Mahomes is at the top of the MVP discussion as far as I see it. And there's nothing that he's shown me the last couple of weeks that detracts from that statement. He's been very consistent. He's putting up somewhere around 250 to 300 yards passing consistently. He's not turning the ball over like he did last year. And by and large, his connection with the wideouts that they have at their disposal has been very solid. I mean, Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it is like, man, it's like Superman and Robin out there. I mean, those guys are just phenomenal, and they're able to find the matchups that work out for them and exploit them. And I think in this game, there's a very good chance that Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes are going to be able to connect quite frequently in this game, where I see Travis Kelsey getting somewhere around 7 to 8 catches and probably over 100 yards receiving, maybe even a touchdown or two on top of that. When it comes to the rest of their wideouts, I want to see, Marcus Valdez-Scantling and Juju get back into the fold. I don't believe that Kadarius Toney is going to be playing in this game. Was he?
He's listed as questionable as well.
Because I know he's been dealing with some injury issues the last week or so. So I'm not really 100% sure if he's going to be in the fold for them. But I know that the Chiefs made the trade for him to bring him into the fold, and hopefully he's able to get some sort of burn if he's out there on the field. It's just when it comes to the Chiefs, I'm not really going to bet against them unless Joe Burrow and the Bengals prove me otherwise. Granted, they did it last year, so I will give them that. But this year, when I look at the Chiefs compared to the Bengals, the Chiefs have been the more consistent team. The Bengals, it took a while for them to get to this point because the beginning of the year, they flat out sucked. They couldn't protect Joe Burrow. He was getting sacked left and right, damn near every game, the first 2 to 3 games of the year. And they have stabilized that part of the offensive line a little bit, but there's definitely a potential for Joe Burrow to still get sacked a couple times in this game. And that's despite the fact that the Chiefs don't necessarily have one of the best defenses in the NFL. So we'll see how it plays out, but I think this game's going to be an absolute shootout. I think that Joe Burrow is going to be able to put up points. I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to put up points. I think this really kind of comes down to who's going to make the first mistake, who's going to make that turnover, and who's going to capitalize on that mistake. Going to go with Patrick Mahomes in this one. I know that he's had some issues with late game turnovers and late game interceptions this year compared to years past, but I think he's by and large been able to resolve those early mistakes that he made a couple of months ago. And when I look at the Chiefs, they're just running and gunning as far as I see it. But when it comes to the Bengals are finally getting fully healthy, And if they have Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon in the fold, that's going to be a very tough challenge for that Chiefs defense. They're going to be stretched to their outer limits as far as I see it. So, when it comes to this game, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I don't have a lot of confidence in it because I think both teams have a very good chance to win this game. I'm going to say the Chiefs win this one by, I'm going to say like 4, 5 points, somewhere around there. I think this game is going to be very high scoring. I think it's going to be a 34-28 score when it's all said and done, or 34-30, since I said it was like 4 or 5 points. Let's say 34-30. I think both teams could definitely put up 30 points in this game. I'm going to go with a slight edge with Kansas City in this one because it's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to bet against him in this matchup, but it doesn't mean that I'm hating on Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow can go out there and dominate this game as well. I just have a little bit more faith in Patrick in this one. So, Kev, take it on here, bro, because I know you probably have a lot to say about this game.
I'm going with my boy, Joseph Burrow. I got faith that this team is going to find their way back into the playoffs and win this division and take it from Baltimore. I am being bold as I was this time last year. I'm not saying that they're going to make it to a Super Bowl. I think that they're going to find a way to climb into the playoffs despite how the season started. And it's going to start with a statement game against Kansas City. I believe that they proved enough to go out and win without Jamar Chase. They won without Joe Mixon last week, and they were able to get it done against a very tough Tennessee opponent. Now, with potentially both players coming back, that adds a different dynamic to have to go and protect and guard different players. Joe Mixon, we saw, can go out and give you 55 fantasy points in a week just in receiving touchdowns and a couple rushing scores. Then you have Jamar Chase, one of the best up-and-coming route runners and wide receivers in the league. T. Higgins has been playing very well. Hayden Hurst has been coming to his own in the Cincinnati offense finally. And I think that Joe Burrow has finally gotten himself into a rhythm. Statistically, Joe Burrow has been playing very well this entire season. I mean, we did a short just a few weeks ago as to how successful he's been. And aside from the 4 interception performance in week 1 where he was still recovering for an appendectomy, I mean, he's got 23 touchdowns to 4 interceptions because, again, I'm minusing the 4 from the first week. He has played incredibly well since that game. Over 3,000 yards passing already. I know what people are saying. Oh, well, Patrick Mahomes is 1 touchdown away from 30 touchdown passes with 8 interceptions as well. He's got almost 4,000 yards. Well, when you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you have probably one of the greatest offenses that has ever touched the football, I would say that, yeah, it's safe to say that he's a better quarterback right now. Absolutely. There's no doubt. There's no argument. There's not really much you can argue with it because, quite frankly, Cincinnati's got a more high-powered offense than Kansas City, and Patrick's doing it with less. I'm just going to say that I think that this rivalry, this potential, hopefully to soon-to-be rivalry, if they face off again a couple more times in the playoffs, I think Joe Burrow is going to ride this game as a immediate confidence booster. Like, guys, we got to do this. We did it last year when the world didn't expect it. We got to do it again. And that's solely because, again, this is going to catapult, hopefully, Cincinnati into reclaiming the AFC North. Because after this game, they have to go up against Cleveland again, who they got blown out by just a few weeks ago. They have to go out into Tampa. They have to go play the Patriots. They have to play the Bills. This is going to be a gauntlet for the Cincinnati Bengals for the remainder of the season. And again, you go and you get a staple win against a team like the Chiefs, which is the best team in the AFC, arguably in the league, that could easily push this team into a massive spin of we're already on a 3-game win streak. If we beat Kansas City, we can run the table. Obviously, if you look at it from an overall perspective, Cleveland's not the best. Obviously, Deshaun Watson's just coming back. The Buccaneers have struggled. The Patriots have struggled. The Bills have shown weaknesses time and time again throughout the whole season. I think that this is possible because you are led by Joe Burrow and this offense. And Cincinnati's defense has been playing a lot better than what people have initially anticipated, or at least have given them credit for. Because when you look at it overall in terms of total yards allowed, the Bengals are only allowing 338, 226 in the air, 112 on the ground. So they're a little weaker in the rush defense, but you would not expect that from a team like the Bengals, especially the way they started the season. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a shootout. I am praying that this is going to be one of the most entertaining, if not the most entertaining game of the year, like Kyle had alluded to. but I got the Bengals winning this one in a close one. And I'm going to mirror my partner's prediction with the score of 34-30, but I'm going to favor it in on the side of the Bengals.